What is going on, everyone? My name is the California Cougar, and welcome back to another episode of the Survivor Season Series Review. And today, I'm going to be talking about Survivor Micronesia. That is the 16th season of Survivor, and it's often one of the most highly praised seasons of Survivor for all its memorable moments, its cast. It is the fans versus favorite season, the first one. So we have 10 fans of Survivor, although isn't everyone that competes on Survivor a fan nowadays? I don't know, but yeah, 10 fans, and then, of course, 10 players that are favorites, or all-stars, or returning players, whatever you want to call them. 10 returning players playing for the second time. I do believe that all 10 of the favorites returned for the second time in this season. I'm pretty sure. I think only one of the favorites was on the show before Survivor All-Stars. So, yeah. Let's get into Survivor Micronesia. Now, this is often one of the most highly praised seasons. It's often in a lot of top fives when you look at best Survivor season lists. Yeah, you almost always see it in the top 10 or even the top 5. Where do I stand on it? It's a fun season. It's a very fun season. I don't love it as much as everyone else really does. Like, I do think the season's a tad bit overpraised. And maybe it's just because I didn't really care for the Black Widow Brigade as much as every other Survivor fan does. I mean, it's a good alliance. It's got some likable people, but I never really saw it as, like, one of the best alliances. Like, they're one of the most overpowering alliances, but I just never really fell in love with the Black Widow Brigade. So, yeah, we'll talk more about that in a little bit, but starting off with the cast. I think the cast is very good. It's got a lot of great players, both on both sides, actually. More so on the favorite side than the fan side. The fan side had a few lackluster people, but the favorite side. Let's talk about the favorite side. So first up, you have Johnny Fairplay. He was the only one on the favorites tribe to have played before Survivor All-Stars, I believe. Massive disappointment this season. We all saw how that turned out. He was the first person voted off, and yeah, he went from being like one of the most despicable villains in Survivor history to wanting to leave the game on day 3. Like, okay. Yeah, so he was a massive disappointment coming back. Let's see, who are some of the other favorites? Yao-Man. Yao-Man, unfortunately, he wasn't around too long, but he was my favorite from Fiji, and so I was glad to see him make a return because he was one of the bright spots of the Fiji season. But yeah, again, kind of disappointing this season. And maybe that's just because he was the third person voted off, but yeah, like I do wish he had lasted just a little bit longer. Would have been nice. And then, of course, you have Jonathan Penner from Cook Islands. He was great for the time he was in this season. Unfortunately, he did get medevaced, which is very unfortunate. It's always unfortunate to see someone get pulled from the game for something that was not their fault. So yeah, he was medevaced, and and then you have Amy Cusack from Vanuatu. She was kind of disappointing this season. I don't really remember too much about her and what she did this season, especially when you compare it to her Vanuatu season. So yeah, kind of disappointed to see what happened with her. And then, of course, you have all the people that made the post-merge. There were a lot of them. So you had Eliza. She was fun to watch once again. It's an effing stick. That was a great moment this season. Ozzy, fantastic, just as he was in Survivor. Although there is one problem I had with him, which we'll talk about. You also had James. Poor guy got medevaced, and yeah, he ultimately got kind of screwed. I do think he would have been voted off anyway at Final 7, but you never know. Things could change. And then, of course, you have the big 3 this season, who were Sari, Parvati, and Amanda, all 3 of which I thought were great. Amanda, of course, coming off Survivor China and making it all the way to day 39 again, only to have another bad final Tribal Council performance and end up losing the season by 2 votes. So, yeah, to Parvati. Parvati was really good this season. She kind of surprised me, actually. I didn't really think... Like, I liked her in Cook Islands, but I didn't really think her gameplay was anything special. And maybe that's just because she was in a minority alliance the whole time, but... Yeah, like her gameplay was definitely stepped up quite a bit here, making friends with both favorites and fans alike. I thought that was a very good strategy, and it paid off for her, and she won, and probably deservedly so. I was rooting for Amanda, but can't really argue with Parvati winning. Yeah, and then we get to the fans. The fans have a few memorable guys, like Joel and Mikey B, and you have Tracy, Chet... Natalie and Alexis, of course, are the big ones. Jason. Yeah. And this is going to be a little bit controversial. I think Natalie and Alexis are highly overrated players. I never really cared for either of them. And I don't really care to see either of them come back. I know a lot of people want Natalie Bolton especially to come back, but I don't really care if she comes back or not. I didn't really care for her this season. So, yeah. Bit controversial, I know, but didn't really care. And then there's the reason that this season is memorable, and that's because of all the blindsides. There were a ton of blindsides this season. Like, from the beginning of the pre-merge all the way to the end of the game, pretty much. Like, you have Mary getting blindsided at the second Tribal Council. And then you have Mikey B. You have Joel getting blindsided. I don't think Yao Ming was really blindsided. I don't really know. But, yeah. Joel, Mikey B, Mary... all those guys getting blindsided. Amy was kind of on that end as well, but not really. And then, of course, you have Ozzy, Jason, and Eric in the post-merge. And Alexis. I can't forget about her. That idol play by Amanda is one of my favorite idol plays ever. Because nobody knew that she had it, which is awesome. Except maybe Parvati. Parvati might have... because Parvati kind of helped her. Parvati was the only one sticking up for Amanda at that point. Like, Eric had won immunity, so they couldn't get rid of him. He was the last guy standing, and they all wanted to get rid of him. So, but he won immunity, so they couldn't get rid of him. And then Amanda, of course, finds the idol and uses it to blindside Alexis. Like, even the viewers didn't really see that coming. Or maybe they did. I don't really know. I didn't see it coming when I first watched it. And I just remember I was so happy that she played it. I was like, yes! Yes, let's go. To me, that's the best blindside of the season. I think that's better than Ozzy or Jason or even Eric's, which... Let's talk about Eric's blindside, okay? If that was anyone other than Eric, any guy other than Eric, Ozzy, Jason, James, if any of them were in Eric's position, like, the Black Widow Brigade would not have pulled that off. No shot in hell. Only Eric would be dumb enough to give up his immunity necklace to an alliance of 4 women at the Final 5. Like, only Eric. Yeah, because his dumbass could have won the season if he had held on to that necklace. He was 2 immunity challenges away. I think he wins Final 4 immunity. That challenge looked pretty physical. And then Final 3 is kind of a toss-up. I don't really know if Eric would have won that one or not, but... yeah, and the other thing is, I don't think Parvati would have made it to that Final 3, especially if Eric wins immunity at Final 4. I think Amanda goes out at Final 5, and I think Parvati follows right after that at Final 4. And then we have a Final 3 of Alexis, Natalie, or not Alexis, Sari, Natalie, and Eric with going into the final challenge. Either of them would have voted off Eric at Final 3, probably. But who knows? Maybe not. Maybe things would have changed. Who knows? But yeah, if Eric's dumbass doesn't give up that necklace, I think he has a really good shot of winning. Because he gets all the guys' votes. Especially if Amanda's not in the final 2 with him. Because that basically guarantees him Ozzy's vote, Jason's vote, James's vote. And like it might even guarantee Amanda's vote. I don't really know. But... yeah, like, I think there's a good shot that Eric wins if he makes the Final 3. So, or the final two, I mean. So yeah, I was so devastated when he gave up that necklace. And then, of course, like, yeah. And I know that Ozzy and Jason both went home with idols in their pockets, but that's different. Those are immunity idols. Those are not immunity necklaces. Like, you win those and you know you're safe going into going into that tribal council. There's no shot in hell that they give them up. And that's especially true for James as well, because James had already learned from that in Survivor China when he was voted off with 2 idols in his pocket. So, yeah, like, yeah, just some of the moments. There's also the bucket challenge at the final 9, where it went 6 hours. Amanda has to drop out because she has to use the bathroom. Several people fall out because of temptations, but not actually taking the temptations. Like, I don't really know how else to explain it. Like, Alexis drops out before she sees what the temptation is, and Natalie and James follow right afterwards. So, yeah, like, that was a fun challenge to watch. And the other challenges were fine as well. Like, the one where they're throwing tiles or they're throwing rocks at tiles, and Jonathan's like, my ass! I thought that was a hilarious moment. So, yeah, those are all the positives with the season. Some of the negatives, like I said, some of the fans were really disappointing. Chet was underwhelming. Joel could have been great, but unfortunately he was blindsided. Same thing with Mikey B. The Joel-Mikey B rivalry, I think, could have been a lot of fun to watch if that had gone into the merge. And same thing with, like, Amy and Eric, maybe. There was kind of a rivalry forming between them. Yeah, I forgot to mention it's an effing stick. I did kind of mention that, like Ozzy's fake idol. Jason's dumbass picking it up and handing it to Eliza thinking it would save her. But yeah, I always thought that was funny. But yeah, like, some of the fans were disappointing. Some of the favorites, like I said earlier, Johnny Fairplay especially, was very disappointing. And and, like, honestly, the Black Widow Brigade, like, yeah, they pulled off some incredible blindsides, but I just didn't really care for them as much as a lot of other people do. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's just how I feel about them. Didn't really care for them. And I thought the final 3, like, it was a good final 3, but, like, I didn't love Suri as much as I did in Panama. And, yeah, like, a lot of people said she would have won if she had made final 2. There's a good chance that she wins, I think, if she makes final 2. But, like, I didn't really care for her as much this season. So, yeah, like, the Black Widow Brigade was just kind of underwhelming for me. And another thing that left a sour taste in my mouth is the amount of quits and medevacs. I think 5 people either were medevaced, quit, or unofficially quit. And what I mean by unofficially quit is, like, they don't ask for jet probes to come to the camp so that they can get on a boat and leave, or, like, wait until a challenge and tell Jeff, hey, I'm quitting the game now. But what I mean by unofficial quit is it's a quit, but the person asks to be voted off. So Johnny Fairplay and Chet both did that in this season. They asked to be voted off. And so, yeah, they essentially quit the game in that way. And then, of course, Kathy's quit was due to emotional breakdown. I kind of felt bad for her. But then again, she was clearly not cut out for the show. Supposedly she was on meds, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think she was on some sort of medication for some psychological disorder. I don't really know what it was. But yeah, clearly she just wasn't cut out for the show. And then, of course, the medevacs, James and Penner, both very unfortunate. Sad to see them go when they did. So yeah, that kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. 5 people left, basically either quit the game or were medevaced rather than, like, being officially voted off without quitting, if you know what I mean. So yeah, that kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. The auction was kind of weird. Like, I always thought the Eric Suri licking fingers thing was kind of weird. I mean, James during the auction was priceless. His reactions were hilarious. But yeah, like, it was just kind of weird. And yeah, like people being dumb enough to be voted off with idols in their pockets, like you wouldn't see that in this modern day Survivor. At least not as often as it happened this season. So yeah, like Exile Island I thought was alright. Probably could have been a little bit better, but it was fine. Nothing too special about it. It was the same as every other Exile Island that we've already seen, so not too much different about that. So yeah, overall, Survivor Micronesia, it's a very fun season. I do think it's a tad bit overpraised, but not by too much. It's still a very fun season. I don't think it's a top 10. I don't think it's like anything spectacular, but it's just fun. Like that's the best word I can use to describe it, is fun. So with that being said, it's time to score this season. I'm going to give Survivor Micronesia an 8 out of 10. And there it is, guys. There's my review of Survivor Micronesia. Sorry I couldn't get this up last week, but I was just so busy doing stuff last week. I just could not fit it in. So, yeah. That's it for this review. Have you seen Survivor Micronesia? What did you think about it? Make sure to let me know down in the comments below what you thought of it. Hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video, and make sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos to come in the future. I'm going to keep up these Survivor reviews hopefully once every week, except for the times I go home for Thanksgiving and Christmas, of course. But yeah, next week we got Survivor Gabon to talk about, so make sure to stay tuned for that. And until that next review, once again, my name is the California Cougar. And always remember to stay California cool. Peace.